Alright, and we are live. Good evening po sa inyong lahat mga kaguro. And of course, welcome back to Gurong Pinoy. Tonight, we will be discussing the 20 items of professional education. These are the same items that the members of our Team Piaget have answered in their quizzes, no? And of course, the members of our Team Piaget can easily download this PowerPoint presentation that I'm using today. Now, again, for those of you who are asking kung bakit puputol yung video na nasa Facebook page natin at nasa YouTube channel natin, again, the Facebook page and YouTube channel videos are just snippets. Okay, so preview lamang po sila. If you'd want to enjoy the full-length video, ay magpa-member po kayo. Please join us. Join Team Piaget. It's very easy. Just send us a message to our Facebook page. Hanapin nyo lamang po yung ating Facebook page. If you are watching us through our Facebook page right now, send us a message. Or if you are watching us on YouTube, hanapin niyo po kami later sa Facebook. That's Gurong Pinoy. And of course, just send us a message on how you can become a member of Team Piaget. So once again, tonight's discussion is centered on professional education, the 20 items that our Team Piaget members have already answered. Again, these items came from your LET September of 2019. Okay, so lahat po ng questions dito are from the actual LET and September 2019. So again, as a form of reminder, and also as a form of information, lahat ng mga items natin dito ay guaranteed na lumalabas po sa LET. You may have heard some comments or you may have seen some feedback na nung nag-take sila ng LET this September ay hindi sila nahirapan dahil of course the items are very familiar and these items are coming from all the feedback of our students. Okay, but before anything else, of course, we will start with our opening prayer. So please join me as we have our opening prayer. We thank you for this new day, Lord. Help us to embrace all that it may hold for us. To hear the bird song and have the new melodies in our hearts. To see the sunrise and create beauty with our hands. To touch the leaves that grow afresh. And allow your love to touch our hearts. To smell the fragrance of the flowers. And breathe in the wonder of your creation. To dwell on the beauty of our world. And study and fathom your miracles. To enjoy the conversations we have and the lessons we go to, may we drink in all the goodness you have for us. Amen. All right, so once again, tonight's discussion is centered on professional education. If you are ready, please go ahead. Go ahead and please like this video, share this video, start a watch party, and tag your friends. Ano po yan, Ma'am Tin? Basahin mo caption ng live, sir, tas click mo yung StreamYard, tas click mo yung allow Chuchu Kemi. Okay, meron yatang hindi nakikita yung name, no? You have to register po. Kailangan nyo pong i-click yung StreamYard na link and then you sign in para po makikita natin yung inyong name. Okay, otherwise, you'd only be seen as Facebook user. Okay, again, please go ahead, like our video. Ayun, si Sir Michael Perez, maraming salamat po for your comment. Good evening, BSED Math, third-year student, watching all your review videos. Lagi po akong natututo sa mga videos nyo. Keep safe po. Maraming salamat po. Okay, again, go ahead, like our video, share our video, start a watch party, and tag your friends. Okay, mag-like na po ng ating video so that we can all start. Watching from Cebu City, Ma'am Megan Cadelina. Good evening po. Ma'am Jude, Sir Jude Brito. Watching from Ligao, Albay. Watching from Jovellar, Albay, Sir Noel Romualdo. Good evening po. Alright, good evening sa lahat. Go ahead. Again, please do like our video, share our video, tag your friends. And we will start with question number 1. Okay, number 1. Again, this is Prof. Ed. These are the elements for the choice ways for assessments of learning except. Is it letter A, learning styles of students? Letter B, instructional objectives? Letter C, nature of the lesson topics? Or letter D, logistical support? Which one do you think is the correct choice for number 1? Ma'am Felgrace Soperales Baloca. Hindi ko po alam yung link sa quiz for Team Piaget. Doon po sa inyong group, ma'am. Doon po pinopost at 7 a.m. in the morning, Saturday and Sunday. Nandun po yung link. Ma'am Nadsley or Sir Nadsley, good evening po. Pwede pa po ba humabol sa register para magpa-member? Opo, pwede pa po. Mag-send po kayo ng message later. Okay, I see a lot of letter D's in your answer. Letter D, letter D. Some more answers, please. Go ahead and please type your answer in your chat box. Watching from Hulo, Ma'am Nirhada Taraman. Good evening po. Assalamualaikum to all our brothers and sisters who are from Mindanao, lahat ng mga Muslim brothers and sisters natin. Okay, letter D. All right, going back to the question that we have here. These are the elements for the choice ways for assessments of learning. How do you assess the learning of your students? What are some factors that you would consider? But we are looking for the exception. Okay, the exception. Again, please be very mindful whenever you take the let. Dapat aware ka of the words such as except, not, no? So except yung hinahanap natin dito. You have letter A, learning styles of students. As a teacher, you should know your students. Okay? So dapat alam mo kung ano yung learning style ng students mo. Instructional objectives, of course, this is a very important factor because your assessment and your objectives should be coherent. Dapat natutuhog ng assessment mo yung objective mo, yung objective or your target mo ay na hit ng inyong assessment. Nature of the lesson topics. Ano ba yung lesson mo? Ano ba yung concepts na tinuro mo? Or letter D, logistical support. When you say logistical support, of course, logistics would mean how did you transport the materials? How did you pass the papers from you going to your students? And so the correct choice here, the exception would be letter D. Logistical support po ang hindi importante dito. Okay? All three others are very important factors in the determination and the making of your assessment of learning. So usually whenever you make your assessment, especially if it's a summative test, it's periodical test, you'd always start with your TOS, no? Very common question in the left. In the parlance of education, no? What is the meaning of TOS? Ano nga yung meaning ng TOS? Pakilagay po sa ating chat box. What is the meaning of TOS? Ma'am Evelyn Terwell, send po later ng message, ma'am, sa ating Facebook page. First time manood ng live, Ma'am Nuni, Sir Nuni, Lumabaw. Welcome po. Ayon, table of specifications. Okay, so table of specifications, that's your TOS. So before you make your test, you should make your TOS first. No? Yung TOS, that would have all the objectives that you have, and that would have the number of items for each objective. So yung pinaka-rule in making or in getting the number of items for each objective is that the more time you spend on a certain objective, the more items there should be in your test, no? So hindi po pwedeng isang araw mo lang tinuro yung isang objective na to tapos 10 items meron sa test mo, no? So dapat synonymous siya, dapat proportional yung time spent in teaching as well as the number of items in your test. Okay? So TOS, then based on that, you make your test. No? Kaya lang mahirap kasing ginagawa yung ganon. So usually, what the teachers would do is test muna, tapos based na sa test yung TOS. No? Dahil napaka tedious pag gumawa ka ng TOS tapos gagawin mo yung test mo. Pero ideal dapat yon na mauuna yung TOS, and then from that you based your items sa inyong objectives na nandun, as well as the number of items that you have. Okay, but for number 1, correct choice here is letter D, logistical support. All right, now we go to number 2. These are assessments prior to instruction, except, again, we have the term except. Is it letter A, class observation, letter B, questions to prepare students, letter C, KWL chart, or letter D, pre-test? Okay, which one is the correct choice for number 2? Number 2 po, what is the correct choice? Ma'am Ja Benitez, welcome din po. First time ko makapanood ng live. Pero palagi po ako nanonood sa YouTube. Maraming salamat po. Again, for those of you who have just discovered our channel, no, and discovered our page, there's so many videos that we have on both on our Facebook page and also on our YouTube channel. So i-check niyo po yung lahat ng live stream discussions natin for Gen Ed and Prof Ed. Meron din pong Prof Ed, no, mga pillars of learning, may OBE tayo, meron tayong Marzano Kendall, na so marami na po tayong mga videos dyan. Balikan niyo pong lahat. Assessments of learning, learning for, of, as, no? Lahat po yan, balikan nyo. Okay, I see A's and C's. Okay, so nagtatalo. Meron din namang letter D. Watching from UAE. Keep safe po dyan, Ma'am Jovi Camayudo. Hapon pa lang yata ngayon dyan. Or gabi po ba? All right, so again, for number 2, these are assessments prior to instruction, except, okay? So prior to instruction, that means bago ka magbigay ng inyong lesson, ito muna yung mga forms of assessment na binibigay mo sa students mo. Kaya lang, yung hinahanap natin would be the exception. Okay, so which one is not one of the assessments prior to instruction? And the correct choice here is letter A, class observation. When you are observing your class, there is no assessment being done, no? So tinitingnan mo lang sila. Minsan yung class observation, the one that would do this would be your admin, no? So minsan your principal, your assistant principal would come inside your classroom and observe your class, no? But it's not assessments prior to instruction. Now, your questions to prepare students, these are your ways through which you can test their prior knowledge, no? So po pwedeng you'd ask them, have you had any experience doing this? Or what is photosynthesis, for example? What is your idea of photosynthesis? So you have questions to prepare your students. And of course, your questions, these questions right here, your assessments prior to instruction, should also be synonymous with your lesson. Dapat coherent sila. Now, letter C, KWL chart here. This is very common. KWL, K here stands for what I know. So still that's prior knowledge. W is what I want to learn, and letter L here is what I learned. So usually yung K and W mo would be answered by your students prior to your instruction, what I know and what I want to learn, or what I want to know. And L mo here, what I learned, this is answered by your students after instruction na. Okay, so that's your KWL chart. Now, pretest, of course, this is a form of your diagnostic testing. No? So diagnostic test would be a form of test that is given prior to instruction. Again, this is to measure your students' prior knowledge. So usually your pretest is not graded according to the score of your students. So usually graded lang siya according to completion, kung nakompleto nila yung pretest nila. Because that is only one way for you to measure what they already know about your subject. Okay. Now, it's very important that you are giving pretest because you can gauge the learning of your students. So pretest ka muna, and at the end of the grading, you have your final test. And then, of course, you can compare ano ba yung naging difference ng learning, ng knowledge ng students mo based on the pre-test and the post-test. So you can compare, no? So pre-test, kunwari, konti lang nalalaman niya. When you had a post-test, your final test, ang dami na niyang nasagot, okay? Which would tell you that your teaching was effective and that your students actually have learned from you, okay? But here, letter A is the correct choice. Now, number 3. Teacher Emma gave a true-false pretest on social justice. Based on the pretest results, she taught her class social justice by correcting wrong concepts and affirming right answers. Then she gave a post-test. Among forms of assessment, which one did Teacher Emma do? Is it letter A, assessment for and as learning? Letter B, assessment for learning only? Letter C, assessment for and of learning? Or letter D, assessment of learning only? Which one is your choice for number 3? Ma'am Mila Delfino, maraming salamat po for your comment. Good evening, ma'am. First time ko po manood ng live. Gusto ko po ito kasi para matuto po ako ng mga lesson nyo. From Puerto Princesa, Palawan. Maraming salamat po. Welcome po. First time sa live, Sir Dominic De Gia. Maayong gabi, Coach from Cadiz, Negros Occidental. Good evening po. Okay, what is your answer for number 3? I see letter C's. Merong iilang A. Meron din namang B. Alin kaya yung tama? Okay, first time makapanood ng live sa Facebook, Ma'am Rice, Shaira yata, Shayara, Ijdara. Maraming salamat, Sir Gab. What's ads? Very good, effective teacher. Thank you, ma'am, watching from Cotabato. All right, going back to the question. Okay, so I see a lot of C's. First time sa live, marami tayong first timer ngayon. Maraming salamat po and welcome sa Gurong Pinoy. Now, again, number 3, Teacher Emma gave a true-false pretest. So, unang-una, nagbigay siya ng pretest. Now, based sa pretest results niya, she taught her class social justice by correcting wrong concepts or misconceptions ng students niya. She corrected them and affirming right answers. Then, after the lesson, she gave a post-test. So, among forms of assessment, which one did Teacher Emma do? Is it assessment for and as learning? Letter B, assessment for learning only? Letter C, assessment for and of learning? Or letter D, assessment of learning only? And the correct choice here would be letter C. Okay, so letter C po ang tamang choice dito. It's assessment for and of learning. Now, what is the difference between these forms of assessment? No? Ano ba yung pagkakaiba ng assessment for and of and as learning? When you say assessment for learning, you have the hint there, no? Meron kang assessment for, F-O-R. And this is pertaining to formative assessment. No? So, formative instruction mo to, formative assessment. When you say formative assessment, this is assessment that is given during instruction. Okay? So, checking for understanding, kunwari, hindi siya necessarily na kailangan maging test. Pwedeng kahit sa mga questions mo lang, no, you ask them some questions, depende sa answers nila, you can tell whether they understood your explanation, whether they've understood the concepts or not. So that's assessment for learning, formative, no, formative assessment. Again, that's assessment during instruction. Now, ang assessment as learning mo dito, your hint here is the letter S. Pag sinabi mong assessment as learning, this is done by the students to check their learning. So para siyang self-assessment, para siyang metacognition. The students would check whether they understood these concepts or not. No? So again, assessment as learning, the letter S here would tell you that the students are the ones doing this, not the teacher. Okay, so assessment as learning po yan. Now, the last one is assessment of learning, and this one is your summative assessment. So when you say summative assessment, again, this is a type of test, this is a type of assessment that is given after the instruction. So common forms for this would be your periodical test, your third grading, third quarter test, no? So after instruction na po siya. Siya yung pinaka tinatawag nating assessment inside the classroom, no? Yung pinaka evaluation mo kung na-learn ba nila yung concepts, na-gets nila yung skills, no? So that's assessment of learning. So bakit ba C yung sagot natin dito? Remember, she has given a true-false pretest. diagnostic test lang to, no, prior to instruction. And then during instruction, so she taught social justice, and during instruction, she checked for understanding by correcting wrong concepts and affirming right answers. So that's already assessment for learning. Again, as I've mentioned, your assessment for learning does not necessarily have to be a test. Okay, so po pwedeng questions lang siya, no? Question form lang siya. You use your Socratic method. Po pwedeng sa activities ng mga bata, no? If they do their reporting, their projects, assessment for learning pa rin siya. Basta ginagawa nila during your instruction, hindi pa tapos yung instruction mo, hindi pa nakompleto yung concept na tinuturo mo. Then of course, she gave a post-test. So yung post-test mo dito would be assessment of learning na. Okay, so your choice would be letter C. Letter C po ang ating tamang choice. Wala pong assessment as learning here because of course when you say assessment as learning, this is done by the students themselves. Okay, if you are still not familiar with this, we have a separate video on our YouTube channel. It's titled Assessment of, for, and as learning, and we also have a separate video for some test items based on this. So puntahan niyo po yan later. Okay, we go to number 4. What is the most appropriate reason for the teacher's engagement in the process of assessment? Is it letter A, to find out if the lesson was presented well? Letter B, to find out if proper teaching methods were used? Letter C, to find out if lesson objectives were attained? Or letter D, to find out if the teacher was effective in teaching? Which one is the correct choice for number 4? Newbie, Sir Raven Zamora, watching from Negros Occidental. Maraming salamat po. Again, sa ating mga first-timers, welcome po. Diretso po sa kusina, maghanap ng lechon. Okay, so I hope you join Team Piaget. Again, if you become a member of our Team Piaget, you can answer the quizzes. So these items po kanina na answeran nila, no, through their quizzes from 7 a.m. po pwede nyo pong sagutan. And then, of course, at 7 p.m. Philippine time, we will be answering it, or we will be discussing the items through live, no, itong discussion natin tonight. Now, again, if you are watching us on Facebook, on our Facebook page, or might be on our YouTube channel, your video is just a snippet. So mapuputol po yung video nyo. Once again, if you'd want a full-length video and you'd want the PowerPoint presentation, you can easily download kasi pinopost po ito sa Team Piaget. Magpa-member na po kayo sa Team Piaget. It's very easy to become a member. It's very cheap to become a member. Hindi po kayo magsisisi. Once again, magpa-member na po kayo. Our membership, your Team Piaget, is good until September of next year. Okay, so even if you still do not have your schedule, kung hindi nyo alam whether you'll take the LET in January, March, June, or September, po pwede pa po. Until September 2022 po yung ating membership for Team Piaget. Okay, so again, please do become a member. We would welcome you, and of course, you'd learn a lot from Gurong Pinoy. Sir Pepe Bakule. Maraming salamat po. Welcome. Again, welcome sa ating mga first-timers, sa ating mga Team Thunders, Team Veterano, of course, welcome back din. Marami tayong mga veterano dito, no? Yung since last year pa, nandito na. Okay, letter C. For number 4, I see a lot of letter C. Letter C, what is the most appropriate reason? Ano ba yung pinakarason, pinakadahilan kung bakit meron tayong assessment? Bakit nagtitest tayo? Bakit tayo ay may periodical test, no? Bakit tayo may patest lagi? Bakit may patest si teacher? Ano yung reason for this? Is it to find out if the lesson was presented well? Is it to find out if proper teaching methods were used? Is it to find out if lesson objectives were attained, or to find out if the teacher was effective in teaching? All these are true, but what is the most appropriate reason? Okay, what is the main reason, the main factor, the main cause of all the tests that we're doing inside the classroom? And the correct choice, of course, would be letter C, to find out if lesson objectives were attained. So remember, you'd always have your objectives and your assessment. Your assessment should be coherent with your objective. Yan yung mga isang chine-check ng ating student teaching advisors, no? So when you make your lesson plan, dati, no, when you were student teaching, hindi pa tayo masyadong matatas sa lesson planning, and your student teacher advisor would always check whether your lesson objectives and your assessments would be coherent. Dapat kung ano yung lesson objective mo, siya yung mini-measure ng inyong assessment. So dapat synonymous sila, parehas sila. Okay, so letter C is correct for number 4. Number 5, teacher Mimi sees to it that she checks for understanding as she teaches to ensure that every student can follow the lesson. With what form of assessment is she occupied with? I've already mentioned this a while ago. Is it letter A, assessment of learning only? Letter B, assessment for learning only? Letter C, assessment as learning only? Or letter D, assessment for and as learning? Okay, which one is the correct choice for number 5? Number 5, what is your choice? Which one do you think is the correct choice? Number 5. Again, these items came from September 2019 LEP. And of course, these items are guaranteed to come back in your LEP. Makikita nyo ulit to sa inyong LEP. Letter B. I see a lot of letter B, some C, some D. All right, let's go back to your question. Teacher Mimi sees to it that she checks for understanding as she teaches to ensure that every student can follow the lesson. So what form of assessment is this? Okay, the correct choice here, of course, would be letter B. This is assessment for learning. Okay, so again, this is formative assessment. Okay, formative assessment, as we've mentioned, assessment for learning is formative assessment. This is the assessment that we do during instruction. Okay, so during instruction, as she teaches, that's during instruction. And of course, your hint here, the biggest hint will be checking for understanding. Okay, so that will be assessment for learning only, not as, the students are not doing self-assessment, and not of, she has not given a post-test or a summative test. Okay, so letter B is correct. Number 6. Since students have different learning styles and multiple intelligences, the teacher must come up with blank of assessing learning. Is it letter A, varied ways? Letter B, both qualitative and quantitative methods? Letter C, quantified method? Or letter D, great bulk? Okay, what is your choice for number 6? Number 6 na po tayo. Again, please do become a member of Team PSA so that you can enjoy the full-length video. You can answer the quizzes. You can enjoy the free final coaching and the free pre-board. And of course, you can easily download all the materials that I'm using during discussion. No? Libre na po lahat itong mga materials during discussion. Just send us a message to our Facebook page. If you are watching us through our Facebook page now and through our YouTube channel, your video is just a shorter version. So mapuputol po yung video ninyo. For you to enjoy again the full-length video, please send us a message and become a member of Team Piaget. All right, letter A, I see a lot of letter A's. Since students have different learning styles and multiple intelligences, we know this to be true, no? No two learners are alike, so they'd always be different. Their learning styles would be different. Some of them might be auditory learners, others might be tactile, kinesthetic learners, others might be visual learners. And of course, they have different types of multiple intelligences. This is, of course, according to Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences theory. So there's some that are musically inclined, merong naturally inclined, no? Naturalistic intelligence, merong people smart, merong self-smart, merong linguistic, no? Merong kinesthetic. There are different types, various types of intelligences. The teacher must come up with blank of assessing learning. The correct choice, of course, would be letter A, varied ways. So iba-iba dapat. Hindi kailangan or hindi necessary na paper and pencil test lamang always, no? Paper and pencil test. But of course, it would still depend on your objective. So kung ang objective mo is to dribble the ball effectively, your assessment should be made so that it can really hit the target, no? So dapat hindi paper and pencil, but it should be demonstration, no? So demonstration dapat yung inyong assessment. So again, assessment should be done in varied ways. But the main goal again is to hit your objectives. So dapat titingnan mo pa rin yung inyong objectives. Okay, so number 6 is letter A. We go to number 7. What main factor contributed to the great demand for teachers during the American colonial regime? Is it letter A, nationalist spirit for the next generation? Letter B, American literacy modeling? Letter C, democratic tutoring of the country? Or letter D, opening of free public education? Bakit naging mataas yung demand, no? Malaking demand for teachers during the American colonial regime. Okay, what's your choice for number 7? Bakit may nag-angry? Na mali yata ng pindot si ma'am. Okay, what is your choice? Number 7. I see letter D's. Okay, letter D. Of course, the correct choice here is letter D, opening of free public education. So education became public, education became accessible, available to everyone during the American colonial regime. Okay, so before that, pili lamang yung nakakapag-aral, no? Yun lamang mga coming from the elite families. But after or during the American regime, they opened free public education. And so there was a great demand for teachers. Okay, so they hired teachers. Also connected to this, of course, the first teachers that we had were those that were called Thomasites. No, the Thomasites, they're not really teachers; they were soldiers, but they're called Thomasites because they disembarked from a vessel, from a ship called Thomas. No, Thomas yung pangalan ng ship, and of course, they were the ones who taught our grandmom, our grandfathers, no, before. Kung napapansin niyo yung mga lolo't lola natin nakapag-aral under sa mga Amerikano, matatas sila mag-English, no? Magaling sila mag-English yung mga lola't lola ninyo. Matatas sila mag-English dahil nag-aral sila under talaga sa mga native speakers. Okay? So they had Native American speakers or teachers. But of course, after that, there's also a great demand for teachers. So kung meron kayong mga naririnig minsan na high school graduate na lang siya, na yung lola, lolo, high school graduate lang siya, pero nakapagturo siya dahil malaki yung demand for teachers during that time. Okay, so letter D is the correct choice for number 7. 8. At birth, the human brain contains some blank neurons. So again, this came out in September 2019 na lahat ng items natin. And this was one of the things na na-remember talaga ng students natin. Na feedback talaga nila to. They sent this through our feedback system. And they said this was one of the items. Okay, so what do you think is the correct choice here? At birth, the human brain contains some blank neurons. Okay, what is the correct choice? 100 million, 500 million, 1 million, or 100 billion? What is the correct choice for number 8? Number 8 na po tayo. What is your choice?